Then we have individual household in rural livelihood. Individual household is taken as the basic unit for the data generation. So I guess we have uh, Vaibhav with us. He'll be explaining. Is he here in the meeting? Hello? Is
Yeah, sorry,
Vaibhav in
couldn't
the
follow you. What did you say?
is Vaibhav in the meeting? Like he'll be explaining the data which we have.
So who will be explaining the data?
Vaibhav.
Where is he?
Ma'am, he is also not present right now.
So then what will you do? Tell me.
Hello.
Then what we
Yes.
can do is to
Yes, ma'am.
yeah,
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes,
I
tell
am
me.
Vaibhav Madhukar. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you continue?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So yeah, let me continue. Uh, uh, Hello, Aman.
yeah.
Uh,
You can start, Vaibhav.
yeah. Can you move to the previous slide?
Sure.
Yeah, just one more previous. Yeah. Yes. So hello everyone. My name is Vaibhav Madhukar. My roll number is 20A30025, and my case study is based on rural livelihood in coastal environment. So this case study is from Lachimpur Moza in Sankarpur Coast, West Bengal. The study is focused on the livelihood pattern of a hazards-prone backward coastal hamlet in West Bengal's Purva Medinipur district through a grassroots assessment of the complete rural livelihood scenario, and lastly some space-specific recommendations. Next. So before I start, let me explain some terms which I will be using. So the rural livelihood. Study of people, location, and environment in rural areas with special reference to society, economy, politics, and culture is critically needed to comprehend the rural livelihood pattern, and this collectively is called rural livelihood. So let me explain how geography helps us. So geography, which is the science of areal differentiation, uses a synthesizing technique to try to understand geospatial phenomena. The issue of rural livelihood has not escaped the notice of several eminent geographers who have discussed their findings in a variety of geography literature, and that's how the history of geography helps us in studying a particular area. Now, individual household in rural livelihood. Individual household is taken as the basic unit for data generation in this study, and hence the anatomy of uh, the individual livelihood is very important in this study. Next slide, Aman. So the study area is Lachimpur Moza under Ramnagar ICD block in the district of Purva Medinipur, which is located in the southwestern center of the state of West Bengal, along the coast of Bay of Bengal. And these are the latitudes and the longitudes. So next slide. The now let me explain the objectives of this study. So the main objectives are to understand the elements of the physical environments of the study area directly, which are topography, climate, soil, natural vegetation, surface and subsurface drainage conditions. To find out the nature of land use and any change in the pattern of land utilization. To examine the interrelationship between topography and land use, soil and agriculture. To understand the socio-economic structure of the inhabitants of Lachimpur. Next slide, Aman. So this is a rough diagram of the methodological framework which we will be using for the survey and the study. Next slide, Aman. So after the survey is completed, these are the results. So we can see that in the caste composition, there are 89% general and 11% scheduled caste. In the female-male ratio, in the scheduled caste, there are 913 females per 1000 males. In the general caste, there are 868 females per 1000 males and an average of 875 females per 1000 males. In the age 6 pyramid, we can see that the maximum number of males and females are present between the age of 15 to 30 years of age. Next slide. In the family system which they use, we can see that 68% of the people live in single families, which are nuclear families, and only 32% live in joint families. In the family size, we can see that most of the people live with family size of 2 to 5. Next slide, Raman. Now, let's see about the literacy and level of education. So we can see that only 21% of the people are illiterate and 79% are literate. In the level of education, we can see that only 12% of the people have received higher education and 52% with secondary education and 36% have received till primary education. Next slide, Aman. In the health awareness, we can see that in case of sanitary toilet, only 22% of the people are aware of the importance of sanitary toilet and 25% are aware of the importance of vaccination. In the house types, we can see that still 49% of the people live in kacha houses, 30% live in semi-pakka and only 21% live in pakka houses. Next slide, Aman. So in livestock and animal husbandry, we can see that most of the population have cow as an animal in their animal husbandry, and the fuel they use for cooking and other purposes is mostly wood. 94% of the population use it. 5% use kerosene and only 1% use LPG. In the land ownership, we can see that 70% of the people either don't own land or own less than 2 bigha of land. 19% own 2 to 4 bigha of land. 4 to 6% own 6% of the people own 4 to 6 bigha of land. 3% own 6 to 8 and only 1% own 8 to 10 or greater than 10 bigha. And the work participation, we can see that among the whole population, only 33% are workers and 67% are non-workers. In the occupation structure, we can see that most of the people are involved in fishing, business, wage labor, and after that, 7% are involved in agriculture, private tuitions, and others, and 24% are others. Next slide, Aman. So this diagram shows the percentages of different land use by the people of Lakhimpur district. So we can see that even though only 7% of the population are involved in agriculture, 39.8% of the land is used in it, and 13.1% is forest cover, and 0.9% is sea beach and all that. So we can move to the next slide, Aman. So from this study, we can draw some major conclusions that although 7% of the people are involved in agriculture, but agriculture is still the backbone of this rural economy. Also, forest cover is 13.1%, which is mainly confined to the dunes. Tree plantation is mostly spread in a small portion besides the hotels. Few ponds are excavated for pisciculture, aquaculture, and for household purposes. but area coverage of these are very less. Coastal flood due to cyclonic effect causes loss of standing crops. So these are some of the problems which they face. And during this rainy season, diseases like malaria, cholera also break out very badly. Next slide, Lemon. So these are the two references which I used in my study, Wikipedia and this drives. Thank you.
All right, so now we move on to the case three study of this is related to community adaptation brought in Rajasthan. So, basically, we are focusing on traditional adaptation practices that are used by the vulnerable communities in drought-prone areas. So, here in this case, we have selected a particular district, the Tong district in Rajasthan, which has experienced severe drought conditions in 2002, I guess, 2002 to 2003, and these communities have been chosen because they are the people who are bearing the brunt of the existing drought. So they have learned over the years about traditional practices, and with the local non-government organization, they are helping them to take the initiative to cope up to such situation, and that's why they understand what is actually happening on the ground. So therefore, they are the best place to articulate any policy or any financial interventions that is required to build their resilience and coping capacity against droughts. So before we begin uh, the entire case study, so let me just give you a brief background about the weather of Rajasthan. So the state of Rajasthan experiences an arid, semi-arid climate which results in severe droughts, and the magnitude of which is varying from year to year. So the drought has been a continuous phenomenon in Rajasthan ever since the beginning of the 20th century. And the intensity and the frequency of drought in the Rajasthan are expected to increase in the coming years due to nature, culture, livelihoods intersection of climate change. So therefore, communities have learned to conserve and judiciously use natural resources. So in particular, water, like since historical times. So due to the I'm sorry, due to the state of recurring drought conditions, communities have drawn the attention of various stakeholders, and they are supporting them to support them at both policy and local levels. So Dotana and Safipura is the most affected area in the Tong district, which has population of 1400 and 300 people respectively. And obviously, since it is a region of drought, like frequent drought, so they mostly focus on agriculture and animal husbandry. And the typical family size goes up to 6 to 7 person per home. So again, because of sandy soil and the shortage of water, agriculture is mostly rain fed and a subsistence. Although cattle rearing and it's a mostly widely revenue generating activity that is being done in this district. So these are the traditional adaptation practices in the community that is being done in Tong district. So a lot of they have agriculture activity. So most of them have different lands for agriculture. So the land holding sizes differ from person to person, and at an average, they have 1 bigha of no 3 bigha of land, and farmers generally have 1 bigha of land, and the large farmers have 3 bighas of 5 bighas of land. And they mostly grow different varieties of crops like jawar, millet, groundnut, and they avoid those crops which requires a lot of water. For example, cotton. So the most of the crops that are grown are used for their own consumption, obviously due to reduced production, and that's why a minimum quantity is sold in the market. And of course, if the region is drought prone, then animal husbandry is also a uh, uh, widely activity that is being done in that particular region. So communities rear different types of livestock that could include milk, like from cows and goats, and they also have revenue earning animals like sheep for wool. So it's just the scarcity of water puts a lot of stress in the villages in rearing cattle, during droughts. So fodder is also a scarce resources. But they have developed a way, to store the fodder, which is a traditional way. So basically, they use a small mud structure where they store all the grains or all the, uh, I mean, the cow. I'm sorry, this is yeah. They store the fodder and the grains in a mud-like structures, so that can be used during the drought season. And finally, they have drinking water. So the drinking water requirements, the drinking water requirements is met by small hand pumps or open wells. But obviously, due to scanty rainfall, it can adversely affect the groundwater level, and which leads to reduction in the yields of hand pumps and open wells. So livelihood there is based on a lot of things. So they have developed like different uh, ways to sustain their life in that region. So they also have some medicinal plants. So apart from growing the usual different varieties of crops and vegetables, they have started growing medicinal plants like Sonamukhi. So it is basically a revenue generating plant, which is grown in the arid and semi-arid region. And the best thing about it is that it requires less water and minimum care for its growth. And it is also not eaten by any domestic or wild animal. So that's why it's a great way to sustain their life. Then we have fertilizer use. So people have adopted the use of environmentally friendly fertilizers, by making compost using earthworms. So that is vermicomposting. So people found it to be a low investment and less cumbersome process. So most of them have adopted this process. Then a lot of income related activities have is done in that region, that is related to wooden, leather, agriculture, forest products, fruits, vegetables, dairy, maintenance, sewing, stitching, and pickles, etc. And then they have land related activities that could include watershed development, anecuts, making of anecuts, and then pond construction and maintenance, forestry, nursery development, dense forest development, barren land development, and wells for small irrigation and tube well constructions. So, even due to their lack of technological and financial resources, developing countries will be the worst hit by adverse impact of climate change. So, adaptation measures in developing countries should therefore be linked with sustainable development initiatives to seek to with to reduce community vulnerability to shocks by enhancing portfolios of social capital, including access to natural, physical, financial, technical, and human capital, thus enhancing the ability to cope with climate change. So that's it for my presentation. So now we can start with shower dance. So Fiza, you can take on.
Yes, Aman. So, am I audible?
Yeah, you're
Hello.
audible.
Yeah, so Chow dance is an Indian dance with the roots in Eastern India that recreates scenes from epic such as Mahabharata and Ramayana, as well as folklores and abstracts idea. It is originated in Purulia district of West Bengal. Chow dance is closely linked to regional celebrations, particularly Chaitra Parva in the spring. Its name may come from the Sanskrit word chaya, which means shadow. Some associate it with the Sanskrit root chadma. Um, there are three different styles of chow dance. The first one, and it is named after the regions in which it is performed. The first one is Purlia Chow of West Bengal. Purlia Chow dance takes its inspiration from martial arts and compactive training. The dancers perform a repertoire that includes mythological stories from the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Puranas, as well as local mythology and folklore. Various types of drums and other musical instruments are used to accompany the traditional dance, which is performed in open spaces. The dance is made vibrant and stunning by the usage of indigenous drums like as the dole, dhamsa, and karki, as well as the melody of muhri and shehnai. This dance form has been patronized by royal families, wealthy landlords, and a few British governors of the province over the years. The Raja of Bagmundi in Purulia is thought to have the principal patron of the dances. The magnificent Chow masks were created because of his inspiration and patronage. Okay. The second one is Serikalla Chow of Jharkhand. The Seraikala Chow originated in Seraikala, which is now part of Seraikala Karsavan district of Jharkhand. The Seraikala Chow's techniques and repertoire were developed by the region's erstwhile nobility, who were both performers and choreographers, and people of all backgrounds are able to dance it. The Seraikala Chow is acted out with the symbolic signs and performing establishes the actor's role. The third one is Mayurbhanj Chow of Orissa. Mayurbhanj Chow is the name of the Chow dance performed in Odisha. It is originated from Nilagiri region of Baleshwar district. Mayurbhanj Chow is performed without mask and is identical to Saraikalla Chow in terms of its technique. By doing so, you can incorporate the facial expressions as well as body movements and gestures. The Chow dance is historically performed in mid March when one agricultural rotation ends while the other begins. Time of the performances. Chow dance is a vital element of these communities, uniting people from different groups. The Purilai Chow is traditionally commemorated during big religious festivals. Purlai Chow dance is based on the Tandava style of Indian classical dance, with most of the performers being Shaivats. Shaivats are the followers of Lord Shiva. During the Gajan festival and other Shaivat festivals, Chow is mainly done as a form of worship to Lord Shiva. They are also seen during weddings and at the sun festivals. Purlai Chow's mask is included under the geographical indicators as a mask with a unique and traditional character. The Purlai Chow is a type of open sky and open field chow. The recognition Chow dance is much more than one of the most well-known performing arts. It is the traditional method of entertainment and knowledge. Chow dance includes the whole body, and the body can be fantastic communicators. The music is in Chow also serves to entertain and bring people together. Despite the fact that it is the method for entertainment and information, Chow dance is unquestionably not limited to a merely section of the performing arts. Fundamentally, the Chow dance plays a large role in the ancient communication system. One of the most important styles of traditional dance drama is the Chow dance. Chow dancing allows people to communicate in a way that is more than passionate. It is also on an unreal level. It has the ability to elicit an emotion that cannot be expressed in words. With this, I conclude my presentation. These are the references that I have used for my case study.
So, am I audible? Hello everyone, myself Mubashir Shams, and I have done my case study on Meghalaya's tribal community and its bamboo propagation. So, in next few slides, I'll be explaining you about some of my key highlights of my case study. So, Meghalaya is one of the seven sisters of India, situated in northeastern part of India. Meghalaya tribal community is broadly divided into three major groups that are Garos, Khasis, and Jaintias. And they almost contribute to 95% of the Meghalayan population. One of the unique or one of the key feature is that they follow matrilineal society. What is matrilineal society? A society in which the ancestral lineage is through women, and women have the right to own land and inherit their ancestral land. Next slide. Aman. Aman. So now talking about geographical location. So Shillong Plateau is mainly a highland region which is in northeastern Indian Meghalaya state, and western Meghalaya is home for Garos, whereas central is for Khasis, and eastern Meghalaya is home for Jaintias. Next one. Aman, next slide. Hello. So, uh, almost the majority of the population is dependent on the agriculture, and most of the family have their own land where they grow their crops and on their livelihood. So, as we also know that most of the region are hilly areas, so they practice terrace farming. So one of the major problem in this practice is that there is a low water retention, and so to encounter this, they have come up with the idea of bamboo drip irrigation. Next slide. So bamboo drip irrigation is almost a 200-year-old practice used by these communities to bring water from from highly hilly areas to the farmlands and to use their daily needs. Next slide. So this is the working principle of bamboo drip irrigation. So Uh, bamboo drip irrigation is majorly works upon gravity and height difference. So water is brought from an uphill source like small stream sprout with the help of bamboo pipes and then distributed to the designated site. Now after almost, I'm on next slide. Uh, almost after 200 years it has been developed to an extent that it can supply almost 18 to 20 liter of water per day. The bamboo and the other material usually has a lifespan of 3 years, and the cost of labor is also minimal because most of the work is done by their family member itself. On next slide. So this classic water structure fit in well with its surrounding, and also it is the renewable bamboo supply, highland water source, and the presence of traditional terrace agriculture are example of such variable. So by this practice, they were able to increase their production, the crop yield by 50%. Come on, next. So these are the some of my references which I use for my case study. Uh, so this was all from my side. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So, my case study is the impact of institution on rural livelihoods. It is a case study of the village Munduti, which is located in district Alwar, Rajasthan. So the basic purpose of the study is to observe the relation between institution and livelihood. So the first we will define the institution, what an institution is. So institution can be defined as an organization, establishment, a foundation, society, or life devoted to the promotion of a particular cause for the growth or development of a public or community in society. Definition of livelihood, the term livelihood is used rather than job or even source of income.
Aryan,
Everyday livelihood refers to the means of,
Aryan, can you please be a bit loud?
yeah. Okay. Uh, Now it's fine. Hello?
Much better. Better.
So coming to the definition of livelihood, the term livelihood is used rather than job or even source of income. In everyday language, livelihood refers to the means of living, asking for someone how do you earn for your livelihood. So come on, next slide, please. So coming to the various livelihood options sources in the rural area, especially for the Mundati. So like it's a rural area, so it's quite obvious that the 70 to 85% in the Mundati village of the people that rely on the agriculture, and the rest of them, like the minor population, rely on like blacksmith, general item shop, clothes shop, these small businesses. So here in the graph, you can see the like, total number of families around which 80% of them relies on the agriculture, and the other sources are very less as compared to them. So, if you talk about the challenges faced by the rural households, the first one comes out to be the unequal distribution of income. The distribution of income and wealth in Mundoti village is very unfair. So from that we can see that like around the top 20% people whose wealth is very good, they carry out around the 50% of the income. So like if you see the difference, it comes out to be around 30% between the upper half and the lower half. So this is one of the reasons of the backwardness of the village. If we talk about the low level of education, so there are many reasons for the low level of education, such as lack of government schools, lack of teaching staff, lack of quality of education. Teachers do not care about the students. These are the main reasons for the low level of the education. Aman, next slide, please. One reason is the technical backwardness. Technical backwardness can be defined as the unavailability of the latest techniques, methods that can be used to increase the rate of productivity of farming and agriculture. One reason is lack of information about the government policies. Every year, our government makes many policies for the rural area development, but due to the very literacy rate, the people are unaware of those policies. So that's why those policies are not helping them. So here we can see that like around 60% of the people don't even know that there are some policies that exist for them. If you talk about the high rate of interest scenario, this scenario is where like when the farmers are in need of money, they take some money from the bank or some money lenders. But from in case of bank, it requires a good amount of paperwork. So that is not very possible for them as they are illiterate. And taking money from money lenders which ask from around 20 to 25% capital interest, which is also not possible for them. So they lack in this possibility. Aman, next slide, please.
Could you be more louder because I can't hear anything.
I don't know, like to come up with the remedies of the challenges. First one could be the improving the level of education, making sure that all students have required texts and notebooks and teachers. District or state authorities should organize scholarship competition for students to provide extra support to meritorious students. School administration should go also give attention on these income inequality, ensuring that young people have access to food, education, and health care, limiting breaks, subsidies, loopholes to the major energy, agribusinesses, pharmaceutical, and financial companies, updating taxes for higher corporation and individual whose income is derived from investments. And if we talk about the women empowerment, like around 50% of the population is women. So it is very necessary to involve women in every project and everything that is going to happen or that will happen in future in the village. So it will automatically increase overall growth of the village. Come on, next slide, please. Aman,
We have gone to the next slide already.
coming to the yeah.
Is my screen freezed or
This institution. Yeah, no. Okay, fine. So these institutions mentioned here include financial institution, educational institution, and government institution. Out of all the most common for Panchayat Bank, all these institutions are major source of income, employment, and form a very core of day-to-day life. These institutions are responsible for the enhancement of personal skills and overall growth of the village. Existence of these institutions, which can be financial, educational, or political, present a direct relationship between the literacy rate. All these institutions are responsible for the improvement in the standard of living, thus to the overall development. Thank you. Next, Atharva will take over.
Atharva? Are you there?
Atharva, you're not audible.
Hello, Atharva? If you're trying to say something, you're not audible. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
One second, now you're audible.
Okay, so sorry for the inconvenience. I was like saying for time, but it was not audible, I guess. I'm sorry about it. Hello.
Yeah,
Yes,
Atharva,
you
please
are
Okay.
continue.
audible.
Thank you so much. So my name is Atharva Thorkar, and I will presenting a case study with the topic of livelihood based on houses made of mud and bamboo, which can be still be found in various parts of India. So we will start with it. In this case study, we will have a deep dive into livelihood of people who still live in the houses made up of mud and bamboo. People living in such houses have a huge impact of such houses on their livelihood, as it's more than just an shelter for them. Next. So we will start with an introduction. From climate-friendly homes of yore to the monotonous concrete and glass structures of today, we are closing our aesthetic and warmth. Thankful to these people who are still reviving the time-tested practices by using such houses in today's life also. The beauty of living in such in place the beauty of living in place like India is that even if we travel a few hundred kilometers, we can see a complete change. The people will the changes can be observed in various aspects like clothes, language, and so is the architecture. An ideal way to notice such a change would be traveling to the countryside. Moving from the dense cities to the rural part of India, the houses seem thinly shattered. Their design, material, planning, and orientation can be seen uh, of a traditional way, but we can see there is a huge impact of urbanization on these places also. People belonging to the underdeveloped area or people who
Just a
live.
second. Sorry for that. Continue.
Okay. People belonging to the underdeveloped area or people who still live in villages or jungles are not wealthy enough and do not have access to modern facilities of construction. Thus, they can't build and modern buildings in their area. But thus they opt for wooden or mud houses while their whole family's livelihood depends on. Even after getting wealthy or getting the facilities of modern construction, they choose to live in such houses because of their need, because it was about their culture, which their ancestor has been following for so long, and not just because of their need. We will have a quick look through the places which it can be seen today. Today in Rajasthan, earth and stone building and system of water conservation have existed for ages. In regions near the Aravallis, people build their houses using a technique called ram earth, which can be also called as hath measurement. Further up in Udaipur, one can find ancient stone havelis that are 250 years old and still stand strong. In Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and rest of the northeast, the use of bamboo has been predominant in various aspects of life and also in architecture. A mature curved bamboo of the right species can be last a lifetime and is uh, more useful than just the concrete building material. Next. In Kerala, some of the traditional homes called Nalukettus are built around courtyard but have a significant impact on the house, not just architecturally but also socially. These are mostly made with the bricks and mud and bricks and mud. The courtyard is the heart of the house around which all the rooms are built and is as life is built for giving light and life to every room. It is also the place where the family gathers and women especially make the most use of this courtyard. The courtyard also helps in the circulation of air and letting the hot air escape. We can see the few images of Nalukettus even in the courtyard. And we can also see the modern Nalukettus, and we can observe that it has been heavily impacted or by the modern construction and losing its main meaning. Coming to the culture and tradition, traditionally Indian live in joint families. Many occupants of the house and their interpersonal relationship demanded clearly distinguished spaces for different activities. There were private and public zones in house with the courtyard and its nucleus. These houses were very high on the sustainable code. They were designed to suit the climate, the anatomicity, the Vastu Shastra, and the local building material and technique for the construction. Mostly built with again bamboos and mud and the bricks. These houses reflect the nature of the surrounding where they are built. As we can see, there is certain change in traditional architecture as we move from different parts of India to different people today also lives in these houses as it's major part of their culture. People in South still build Nalukettu as it's more about their culture rather than just as a shelter. At the end, I would like to conclude it with saying houses in the area mentioned above are not just for the shelter of people living in them. It keeps them connected with their culture, with nature along while providing them and their whole family a great livelihood. Being part of something like this is what gives you place peace of mind rather than being in a concrete jungle. However, in spite of intentionally choosing to build with modern material today, the interesting thing about Indians is that they will happily and passionately gives a list of benefit of traditional houses over the current one. Uh, and with this, I will like to conclude my case study. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Hello, ma'am. Is my voice audible?
Yes, go on.
Uh, so, my name is Akshat, and I would be having a brief case study of Adi Ganga. So, Adi Ganga is one of the most significant streams of the Hooghly River across historical trajectory since the prehistoric times to the present times. The river had been utilized by the colonial rulers, and over time, even during the post-colonial period, can be partly attributed to the fact that governments made plans to channelize it more and more. Aman, next slide, please. Uh, the river has a great historical importance and has been mentioned in several mythological texts. One of the famous excerpts include the story of King Bhagirath and the river Ganga. Next slide, please. Adi Ganga was a popular river since the pre-colonial era. Around 17th century, it became a major port under British Empire. In the 1770s, as Adi Ganga started to recede, William Torrey supervised the dredging of a 15-kilometer long channel. Even today, the channel is called Toli Nulla. The channel was used to transport non-machinized goods. East India Company turned the canal later as a blueprint for later canal systems. Next slide, please. The The picture shows an archival document handwritten by the Britishers. It shows the kind of revenue being collected by the Tolly from 1818 to 1825. During this time, the British also built another canal system with development of roadways and railways. The usage, the water transportation became less usable, due to which the maintenance of Tolly Nulla fell to despair. Same happened to other canal systems as well. Due to this, even uh, next slide, please. One more. Okay. The photo shows how Adi Ganga looked in 1945. The river was considered holy, and which has now fallen into despair and almost turned to sewage. Next slide, please.
Under Hugh, historical urban political ecology, the revival campaign came up in 1990, in 1950s. In 1970, in 1977, SEMP report recommended the revival of Adi Ganga. Metro extension project was announced in 1999. We saw distinctive shades of environmentalism occur during the Adi Ganga Bachao Andolan. The elites wanted to revive the river for heritage purposes. A lot of grassroots organizations and NGOs came to support, but finally, none of this activism worked as people weren't united. And finally, the metro was built. If you visit it, the river now, some people have settled and again on the sides of the river because they have nowhere else to go. Next slide, please. None of the ecological experts who were in the campaign actually bothered about what happened to the river, unlike and similar to other campaigns around India. So the river finally is now ended. Thank you. Well, this was extreme.
So now, in conclusion of all our project, I would like to start with saying the description of what is intangible cultural heritage. A practice, representation, expression, knowledge, or ability that is part of a place's cultural legacy is known as intangible cultural heritage. In anthropological sense, intangible cultural heritage or culture refers to our forefathers' adaptation to the environment which they lived in. Not only that, but it is clear that the significance of this intangible cultural heritage in our interpretation of nature is critical. As a matter of fact, many people's livelihood are reliant on this specific interpretation. Chipko movement was a perfect example where livelihoods met nature. Here, the women and the people of the area whose livelihood were reliant on the trees saved the trees to save their livelihood. This is a perfect example where culture met nature and generated livelihoods. In the case study of Lakshmipur area of West Bengal showed us poor health awareness and low literacy, education that can cause long-term sufferings for poor people. Agriculture being the main occupation, if we want to enhance their lives instead of changing their occupation and lifestyle, we should focus on enhancing agriculture, animal husbandry, and animal husbandry through innovations. Here we can see how nature, in form of agriculture or animal husbandry, in fact, affects our livelihoods. In the case of here, the Chow is ecological economy culture in ecosystem dependent communities. Their culture meets nature as they intersect to give us yet another livelihood which is dependent on this intangible cultural heritage of the state. In case of Tong district, the case study of Tong district proves resilience even in case of adverse situations. Here, they were able to incorporate traditional methods to support their life in drought-prone region. So there was a cohesion of tradition and nature to generate livelihood of people of the state of Rajasthan. The tribal communities of Meghalaya are mostly dependent on agriculture. In steep fields, there is a problem of low water retention. So they had to develop a bamboo drip irrigation system through which they can easily irrigate their land and they were able to increase their crop yield. This is a perfect example of how the culture of bamboo and the nature of bamboo and the culture of bamboo drip irrigation generated the livelihood of generated and generated the livelihood of uh, agriculture. In another case study, Mundoti village is the perfect example of correlation between various institutions and livelihood of villagers. It shows how they are dependent on one source of income, lacking technology, education policies, and women empowerment. Their development is completely dependent on the actions of institutions, whether it is educational, financial, or political. In another case study, where one of my friends showed how the how the people are shifting to the pakka houses instead of the kacha houses, people overwhelmed by what they see in cities, movies, and in other media now aspire to build concrete buildings as an upgrade, a symbol of power, status, and respect in today's world. Another reason for decline of traditional architecture has been promotion of industrialized material. However, in spite of intentionally choosing to build with modern materials today, the interesting things is that Indians clearly will say that clearly will very passionately say that those kacha houses, the houses which were built traditionally, are very great, and give you a list of benefits of those houses. In case of Adi Ganga, where we have seen that culturally, Adi Ganga, the river of cultural significance, has now been destroyed due to livelihoods of many people. In all these case studies, we have seen how culture and nature interact in different ways, leading to different livelihoods. And instead, this livelihood may lead to destruction or construction, as can be seen in case of Adi Ganga for destruction, and maybe bamboo drip irrigation for the constructive way of those interference. I would like to say that I would like to conclude by saying that there are many ways in which nature and culture interact and give us a varying array of livelihoods. Thank you.
All right, so thank you. And what about others? So it's already like 9:38 now, and I'm a bit clueless. But anyway, thank you very much for the presentation. And yeah, Amit and Shorodip, you can guide me on how do I go about this? The left out presenters.
Ma'am, we have only 22 minutes left, and this is up to them, as whole scenario has been unprecedented. So if they can quickly wrap up within these 22 minutes, it would be fine enough, because we couldn't be more lenient than this.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. So yes, so you can moderate, or rather you can give instructions to them. I'm just here to watch the presentation.
Yes, ma'am. So can they quickly finish it up within the mentioned time? I don't know,
Yes.
really.
Only 21 minutes left. So will they able to be finished it?
Actually, we require around 30 minutes. So we are having around 30 slides.
So you have to wrap up within 20 minutes. It's up to you.
Okay, we will try.
Okay.
Govind Singh, can you please share the screen and our PPT? Good morning, everyone. My name is Mohammad Shoaib, and along with our team members, 11 members, we are here to present a prototype in the form of presentation on the topic Anthropocene. Anthropocene is the beginning of new era. Here we can see that we are entering into the new stage. till now we were in the Holocene stage. Now, as human activities have impacted our Earth in a huge way, so it is proposed that we should give a new name to this new epoch, that is Anthropocene. Actually, the whole geological timescale of Earth is being divided into many timescales and has been given different names by International Geological Systems Union, and so these are like Neogenic period, Cenozoic period. These all are the names given according to the modification of the Earth, a particular timescale. So Anthropocene is a timescale, geological timescale, where our humans have impacted more. A particular time period has been named as Anthropocene. So in this figure, you can see like in the complete Anthropocene, in the complete geological time scale, where we are. Like here, it has been shown that you are here in this epoch, Anthropocene. Paul Crutzen has declared the extensive damage caused to the biosphere by human activity should be renamed as Anthropocene instead of Holocene. And due to the great acceleration, can you go to the previous slide? Yes. By considering the great acceleration after 1950, we have unofficially like the terminology into the name of Anthropocene instead of Holocene. In this prototype, we'll be first discussing about what is Anthropocene, how our humans have affected the Earth in a very drastic way, and then we will be discussing on impacts and characteristics of Anthropocene. Then, with the help of few examples showing how the impacts are there, then finally we will be discussing the current scenario of Anthropocene, then some solutions of the current scenario, potential risks, finally conclusion. Now I will hand over to Abhay Meena.
Good morning, everyone. I am Abhay Kumar Meena, and I will be talking about the different stages of Anthropocene. The whole age of human impact on Earth is divided into 3 stages. The duration of 1800 to 1945 is marked as stage 1 of Anthropocene. This was the time of Industrial Revolution.
Excuse me, what was the topic exactly? Can you tell me? The topic of the group assignment?
It was on the Anthropocene.
No, tell me the entire topic. I think I did not ask you to do a group assignment on the Anthropocene. Did I tell you write a group assignment on the Anthropocene?
You asked us to create a prototype on the topic Anthropocene.
What does it mean? I said just like that. They create a prototype. What were the instructions? What was the topic? You are not being able to tell me the topic only. I don't think I have asked you to create a prototype. It doesn't make any sense to me. What does it even mean? So can you read the instruction? Amit, tell me what was the exact topic? What was the topic of the group assignment?
Ma'am, it was prototype of an exhibition.
Yes. So it was prototype of an exhibition. Where is it? And didn't we discuss it?
Yes, ma'am. We have discussed. So we are, as I have stated first, like we are giving a prototype in the format of presentation.
Do you even understand what topic was given to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand what is the difference and what you mean by prototype of presentation? What does that even mean? What is the meaning of prototype of a presentation? Is this a prototype of a presentation? This is a presentation. What is a prototype? What is the meaning of prototype and what is the meaning of exhibition? What is the meaning of prototype of an exhibition and what is the meaning of prototype of an exhibition on the Anthropocene? So on that also you have not spent like 2 minutes of time. So all this information that you are giving, that Anthropocene, you know, all these names and who invented what and those things. So like it will. So prototype of an exhibition. What do you mean by that? And your group was supposed to come up with an exhibition on the Anthropocene for the audience, and right now that exhibition will not. I mean, we cannot see the exhibition. So you are supposed to. You are asked to design the prototype of the exhibition. That, you know, this is how the exhibition will be designed, planned, and executed. Right? So did you even understand that? So 12 of you, did you even sit for one day to discuss this at all?
Yes, ma'am, we have discussed it.
Then what happened? I don't see the prototype of an exhibition here. So have you discussed about exhibition?
Yes, ma'am.
Then where is it? It's not getting reflected in your presentation. Has it got reflected in your presentation? The first presentation, the second one, is it at all there in any other presentation?
So in the format of presentation, we have designed like first we'll be telling how like what all have impacted Anthropocene. Then we'll be discussing examples. Then like what are the solutions for it.
But where is the exhibition component there?
We are exhibiting in the form of PPT right now.
Have you understood the assignment topic itself? I think we had a very detailed discussion on that. Didn't we have a discussion on it? Did we discuss or not? Tell me. Did we discuss? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember now.
So what was discussed?
Like you said that suppose we are going to have an exhibition, then how we are going to keep this topic Anthropocene in that exhibition.
Yeah, so where is the exhibition component now? Because the entire focus is on the exhibition. Because the kind of information that you are showing me right now, showing us right now, this is nothing original, right? This is available everywhere. You just do a Google copy and paste everything. All these things will be available. But if you do a Google search on a prototype of an exhibition of Anthropocene, you will not get anything from anywhere. And that is why I gave you the topic. Right, getting it? So did you try to develop the prototype of an exhibition? Is there anything on the exhibition at all in the in these presentations? Is there anything on the exhibition?
Exhibition. Govind, can you show the example slides?